They recognize that, whoa, there is more of them than there are us. We need a way to combat that. How do we combat it when there is more of them than us? Well, what we do, we take control of the things they need to live. We take control of the things they need to live. That's what they've done. They have taken over control of our food. They have taken over control of our housing. They have taken over control of our health care. So even though there is 100 of us to every one of them, it does not matter. Because when the 100 of us show up and say, we need this to be fixed, they say, make us. And we go, well, we don't know how. Normally we would go to our politicians, but the politicians work for you now. Then the next thing that we would do is we would vote with our dollars. But you got rid of all the competition. There are no more mom and pop shops anymore. And we did not realize how huge that was, how much that protect us to have a free and competitive economy. Because when the corporations start treating us bad, what's the only thing they respond to? When we walk our asses out the door. When they know that we can go shop somewhere else, that we can go work somewhere else, that's when they have to offer better products, better service, everything. And what we have to understand is that we did not make the switch from local markets to grocery stores because somebody called us and made a moral argument. So we switched our ideals. No, not at all. Somebody built something that worked better for us. So people moved. And that's it. So you can sit here and argue with people who have lived in this system their whole life, who have depended on it, has seen their families, prosper at times. And you can tell them, oh, the system's broken. Well, guess what? People will always push back against you just talking about what's wrong. Well, first, we have to build what is right. That's what this is really all about. Because if you just sit there and tell people what is wrong, they will always find ways to defend the current system. But if you sit there and build, hey, we're making something that works for people. What about healthcare insurance that actually tries to make you better? Instead of fighting to not provide you healthcare, what if we designed it so that healthcare insurances actually took care of you? What if for grocery stores, instead of the corporation controlling access and jacking up the prices on food, what if somebody was in that position that still connected the people that eat the food with the people that grow the food? But what if they had our interest at heart? What if rather than saying, I'm going to make as much money as possible on this food, we incentivize someone to be like, well, I'm going to make a living and I'm going to provide a service to my community, but I want this food to be available. I would rather my community members have access to this food rather than me controlling access and jacking it up to people. Noah, people won't grow their own food. That might be a couple years down the road, but first we need to show them that the corporate system that does not work for them isn't something that we need to continue on. That's the whole thing. And if we have the first ask as grow your own food, then that would be a lot. What we're really going to do is the first ask is, hey, if we placed a bulk order with a farmer, would you purchase it with us? Would you get eggs with us, right? That's what it really comes down to, is you don't have to tell people that, hey, the system's screwed. We got to leave this system. We're going to go to a new system. Not at all. All you have to do is say, hey, the grocery store, they don't care about you, right? Grocery stores do not care about you at all. But yet we get all of our food there and we purchase them all the time, right? So why do we keep sending our money with a corporation that does not care about us, right? That's what it really is. Because people have no other option. That's all that it is. People have no other option. And because people know this system, we are in it out of habit, right? It's most of us heard whispers of a system that used to look out for its community, of businesses that understood the business's health mattered to the health of the community. And in Noah, we can do that in many ways too. We are just showing people that corporations are just middlemen. Corporations don't grow the food. We grow the food. People in our county. We are the ones that eat the food. Noah, we've already got it. Farm fresh 24/7. And all corporations figured out is that if they control access to the food, they control us. That's it. Corporations just control access to the things that we need, right? That's it. And then, so what we need to understand is that, all right, how does this correlate to pushing back? Well, the strongest actions we can take are protesting, boycotting, and striking. Boycotting only works if you've got a bunch of non-corporate alternatives. Boycotting only works if you have non-corporate options. Right now, we don't have enough non-corporate options to sustain a boycott. That's all it comes down to. The majority of people have to go get their food from grocery stores, from corporations. Every one of us have to get our health care from corporations. And almost every one of us, if you are paying rent or a mortgage, that goes to a corporation. So we can try to boycott, but we will never not be able to use corporations. They control everything that we need to live. So that doesn't mean that we shouldn't boycott or shouldn't protest. What it means is that when we do boycott and we do protest, that we should funnel people in to building more local alternatives. Then that makes the next pressure, the next mass action, even bigger. Allah, you are totally right. So I am Artifacts. You're going a little too fast. We have to slow down and understand it is not just about starting community gardens. The first thing you have to do is show people this is possible. That's what this is. We have to show people this is possible, right? Fourth wheel, we're on the same thing. So Prativya, that's fine. All we're saying is healthcare corporations don't care about you. And they're incentivized to let your family members pass away simply because they don't want to pay for that procedure, not because you don't need that procedure, but because they want to make more profits. And because those people want to keep making more profits, they dominate our political sphere, they control our economy. Why is it that food companies can sell us food that is terrible for us, but lie about what's in it and be very deceiving? Vitamin Water literally said that people would be insane to think that vitamin water was healthy. Fox News said that anybody that believes they are actual news is wrong. So these corporations are actively against us. The media is supposed to keep us in the same reality. The economy is supposed to provide opportunity. But what happens when every company that controls the economy makes sure to not provide any opportunity? Not because there isn't any opportunity, because they recognize that if they keep everybody just struggling enough so that you've got to work the majority of your time for food and housing and healthcare, that you'll never be able to ask, why are things this way? Why can't we change things? Why does it feel like my economic situation directly impacts my political one? And that corporations and politicians are working in cahoots to make sure we don't have any power. Because you know what actual power is? Power is us being able to say, screw this, we're sitting our asses at home. You know what I mean? Power is being able to say, screw this, fix it, or I'm not participating anymore. I don't want to be a part of this if you keep screwing me over. It's almost like the American economy is a car. And in order for it to work, we all have to go push that car. But then every time we get the car going, the corporations and the politicians driving that car, what do? They run over us. And this happens every single time. We are the ones that build the country. We build the economy. We are the economy. But they make sure that we do not get what we need to live. Because if we are always treading water, if we are always one step away from financial ruin, then we will never be able to have the time and energy to think about, why is this happening? Why is it that we are always treading water and can never get any breathing room? Tammy, go right ahead. So what we need to understand, like you're saying, Fourth Wheel, I want to see some tangible stuff too. So that's where food distribution is a huge part of it. We can remake grocery stores into community stewardships. Somebody who controls all of our food shouldn't be trying to gouge us and make as much profit as possible. We should incentivize them so that they are also incentivized to look out about us, right? I have been on here every single day for 6 months straight. The thing that I can't stand the most are people that try to divide us along lines of race, even though what that is that's people in charge trying desperately to keep us apart. Because what we should be doing right now is coming together. How do you know that I wasn't saying the same thing? And it's so funny, and I don't understand how you think this would be helpful or supportive in the least, because I have been saying that. This is not anything about what has happened in the last 3 to 4 weeks. We talk about what happened in the last 30 to 40 years and how it's already happened. So me, and this is what's so funny. So the ultra wealthy control all the media, and we get mad at the people that are brainwashed instead of the people doing the brainwashing. And all that we're saying is, hey, haven't we had enough of pointing fingers? But so I was born, I saw it, I said, I can do what I can. And so I shouldn't have done it because people that looked like me did things wrong a long time ago. So I should just stay quiet and not use my privilege to speak out. Which one is it? Because this is what's so funny. Should you use your privilege to speak out and say, hey, this isn't right? And then as soon as you do that, it's, why are you speaking out? Why didn't you speak out earlier? Well, because I was a baby. And because everybody needs this. So me, just one person. And this is where what you are doing is just as bad as what somebody who is completely opposed to human progress. Because what we are trying to do is say, hey, all humans are equal. We do not get our value from making money. And what they have tried to do is that they divide people so much over things that we don't have control over. And then we point fingers at each other instead of up top. And so I would implore you to look and see if that is something that you may be falling into as well. Because aren't we all trying to push towards the same thing? A world where people are seen as equals and we don't have to have money be what defines our worth? And I thought it was that the people that were able to speak out were supposed to. So what I really think is that we get too far ahead of ourselves, right? The first question we need to ask, and why we need to understand why a lot of people are in a different mindset from us, right? Is that we don't ask what's the point of a society. We don't see that a lot of people understand, or that a lot of people don't understand, that society is actually about cooperation. So many people are born and immediately it's, oh, life is about competition. If somebody gets something that you don't have, or if somebody that doesn't look like you has something, they are taking it from you. And so that's where I think we need to double check and see, are we in this competitive mindset? Do I believe that if somebody else gets something, that's something less for me or for people that look like me? No, that's not the way it is at all, right? What it really is all about is cooperation. That's the point of a society, having the majority of people be able to achieve security. It's not just so a few ultra wealthy people can get really, really rich. And that's where, why doesn't our effort equal outcome anymore? Why is it that we can work really, really hard and still fall farther behind? And then everybody feels this pressure. Everybody feels the problem, right? But then everybody points towards a different solution. Some people say it's red versus blue. Some people say it's black versus white. Some people say it's foreign countries, right? But we all point to a different thing. That's because I think we're looking at the symptoms. We're not looking at the actual problems. Yeah, we're divided because that is a symptom of the majority of Americans not having enough money. That is a symptom of some people being the haves for a very long time and others being the have-not. We all feel the pressure. We all feel the issue. But then rather than asking, why do we all feel this? And then why do we all point to different things? Instead, what ends up happening is because we're all just barely treading water. We don't have time to think about it, right? You don't have perspective when your head is barely above the water like this. You're not able to see that, why is somebody constantly filling up the pool? It doesn't need to be this way. But because we are made to work so hard for the bare essentials of life, our food and our housing and our healthcare, that it's almost impossible to take the time to think about it, right? And then the other part is they train us to accept it. Oh, this is how life is, right? It's so crazy because we were all told the opposite. We were all told that if you work hard, if you study hard, you put your head down, that you'll get ahead, right? Drop a me in the chat if you were told that if you work hard and study your ass off and put your head down, that you'll get ahead. Well, they lied to us about that, because there's not many of us that have followed that and actually been successful, right? Because everything in life is hard to get right now, especially the things that we need to live, right? They make us pretend like this is the way of life, right? This is the way of life. But it's not. Well, that's because, Neil, I feel the same way. Because what they did was they said, look, we got all this stuff. Why are we fighting about it? Because this is not political. Like, this is basic. Like, what do we get out of bed for in the morning? Do we really want to go make somebody else rich while it still is really hard for us to afford life? Not like luxury. We're not asking for luxury. We're asking for the basics. And Neil, I think that's what you meant with, indigenous people here in America, is they had the basics. It wasn't difficult. There wasn't expensive food. Because that's what society is supposed to be like, right? If the majority of people have security, it works best for all of us. And that's where all humans need the same thing, right? All humans need the same thing. It's not stirring up cooperation, it's stirring up excitement. You have to get people excited. To get people excited and engaged, they need to be empowered. What we are doing is we are giving people the tools that they need to create change in their area. We are saying, you be the lighthouse and we will send people to you. We will send the ships your way. You may need to guide them in and start your weekly meeting and do all this, but you can do it. We are helping nationally. We will pull people to you. Our whole goal is to create state chapters, but we need those state leaders. We need those community leaders. And then you just choose. Do you want to be a part of the pressure campaign? Do you want to be loud? Do you want to go to the city council? Do you want to go to the Chamber of Commerce? Do you want to write letters to the editor? Is that what you want to do? Or do you want to start building in your community? Do you want to create food buying groups? Do you want to start a small business that turns into a co-op? Do you want to start finding direct primary care so that people don't have to use their damn health insurance? What we just posted on Instagram was the connection between food distribution and people. Let's cut out the middleman in all aspects of life. This is what will get people excited to change, not asking them to change because the system's bad. We need you to change. No. Hey, I built something better. Do you want to try this? That's it. Grocery stores screw us over. They jack up the prices. They lie to us about what's in the food. Hey, I built something better. We just buy our food from this farmer. You want to try it this way? Health insurance companies screw us over, hurt us every single way that they can. Let's just pay our doctors directly. Hey, that corporation actively screws us over. Want to try it a different way? And that's going to get people excited. Because number one, we all need side hustles already. Might as well screw over the corporations, create a non-corporate option while we have to side hustle. Because, man, this shit ain't that hard. All corporations did was recognize that they did nothing. They did nothing. They wanted to protect their status of doing nothing. So they controlled access to all the things that humans need to live. They don't grow all our food. They buy it all up from the people that grow the food. Then they can charge us so much because they control access to that food. They don't give us health care. They pay the people that are our neighbors. They pay our community members to provide health care. They're the ones that make all the damn money doing it. So instead of going through the corporations that actively hate us, let's go around the middlemen. That's all this is. And then once people understand that we are able to go around the corporations instead of having to go through them, they will start to understand, oh, we're not stuck in this corporate bullshit, in this corporate serfdom. That's exactly what it feels like. I read something where it's like corporations feel like they're mad at us for having to go through us to get our money. And if that isn't like what serfdom feels like, that's got to be, right? Because that's how we become consumers, not customers. We become consumers because there is absolutely no way that we can go shop anywhere else for the majority of things. Steel cut oats, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that ain't true. Systems don't change, though. I'll agree with you on that. Systems do not change. They just get replaced. That's all. They get replaced when a better option comes along. That's all. Nobody that people that created the first car, they didn't need to call everybody up and was like, hey, I'm going to need you to switch from a horse to a car. No, they were just like, boom, mofos, here's a car. And everybody was like, oh, that could work for me. I could make that work. And so that's where it's not about like convincing 50 million people. Because have you met adults lately? They're not going to change their mind, right? You don't convince 50 million people. You just build something better. So that's where the people that are saying, I like this, I love this, it's going to take 200 people, 4 people per state. You going to be one of those 200? You want to change our, Neil, that is incredible. You want to change our country? This is a small business revolution. All the corporations have over us is they can offer more products at once, except if they offer more products and all of those products and services are shit. Nobody wants to go there, right? Pebbles on the beach. It's even easier than that. We've already posted it on our page. It's on Instagram, on TikTok. If you haven't yet, go follow us on YouTube. What we can do is we can replace the grocery stores. It's not that difficult. Grocery stores do not care about us. They offer us crap products with terrible service. The way we defeat corporations is by understanding we're never going to beat them on scale. That's where I think we look at it and we're like, how could we ever fix this? Because we try to beat them on scale. We'll never beat them on scale. What we can beat them on is caring. We can care more. We can care harder. We can care better. And people want to buy things from the people that care about them. Part of why we hate corporations so much is because corporations happily take our money, but then they're kind of douchey, right? They're kind of jerks. But then that's why we're consumers and not customers, because they know they can stay being jerks to us. What are you going to do? Walk out of Walmart? You only have one other option. It's another corporate store that's even more expensive called Target. What are you going to do? Walk out of your local groceries or walk out of your grocery store? There is no local grocery store anymore. What are you going to do? You're not going to leave Home Depot. You walk into Home Depot, the employees run the other way. But Home Depot knows that you're never going to walk your ass out of there and go to the local grocery store because they ran that local grocery store out of business. Matt Johnson, that's something that we think about a lot. It would be wonderful to do that, but it's basically we need to be where the most amount of people are. We also are on Blue Sky, on Upscrolled, things like that. But we want to be where the people are. Pebbles on the beach. Corporations control our food and our healthcare. And they actively hate us. It's crazy. They actively hate us. That's all it comes down to. And it's so funny because look, even now, people will call us complainers, but we're like, isn't it weird that the companies in charge of our healthcare insurance don't want to give us healthcare? And then people just call you a complainer. What? Isn't it weird that the people that produce our food care so little about us that they put sawdust in our Parmesan cheese? Oh, stop being a complainer. That's the way it always is. A little bit of sawdust in your Parmesan cheese never hurt anybody. Oh, what? Healthcare? Being covered services? No. Healthcare healthcare companies are for profit. They're just looking out for their shareholders. Yeah, because that's the way life should be. So that's where the people that don't understand this, there's no sense in arguing, right? That's why Trump loves the uneducated. Because when somebody's head is still in the sand, it doesn't matter. You're not going to convince somebody to leave a system they've known their whole life, right? You're not going to say, hey, ditch that horse for this car that I'm building. This car is going to be better than your horse. Well, people will always be like, no, I'm going to defend my car or defend my horse. That's what I know. That's what I grew up with. That's what my habit is. So yeah, when we mentioned that, yeah, we're in the process of building a car, a lot of people are going to push back. So fourth wheel, what we really need to start doing is showing people that protests and boycotts and networking is not the end goal, right? My whole idea, or this whole idea, is to have these local action groups, these small businesses, these co-op startups, whatever it may be, to have that structure in place so that when we go to networking, so that when we go to protests or boycotts, that we're able to tell people, hey, this is just the first step. If you want to do more, join Fourth Wheel's local group where they start a food buying group where we just get a bunch of people together and we buy from a farmer instead. It's just that people don't see co-ops as the way they should, I don't think. I think we need to see co-ops as small business opportunities. As, hey, if I can find 20 people to be a part of a bulk order, then maybe I can get somebody else that wants to find 20 other people. And then we've started a bulk ordering group. You've started a food buying group. And now those people have the option to buy their food from a local farmer instead of a corporation. And then say, yeah, you're only serving maybe 40 or 50 people. But what if 1 million people across the country all decided, all right, I'm going to stop doing my other part-time job because we all need a side hustle anyways, and I'm going to start getting serious about this food buying group. Because if I can get 100 people, and shit, I could even just charge them $0.25 a week. Well, I'm making $25 a week. I'm connecting people with a service they want, local food. And shoot, maybe if it even gets more, I can start doing deliveries and charge them 50 cents a week. Then you're making $50 a week. Everybody needs a side hustle anyway. Might as well do one that screws over the corporations, makes us less dependent on organizations that actively hate us, and make some money on the way. Because then what this is, it's not just a small business. This can be the start of a co-op. You find 20 people, your other buddy finds 20 people, and then you go put flyers up and you hope to find 20 more people. So there you got 60, 70 people that want to buy eggs once a week, that want to buy veggies once a week. And you call it cost plus food, right? Don't we love that Cubans started cost plus drugs? Because it tells us, hey, I'm not screwing you over. Here's what I paid for the merchandise. Here's the little fee that I'm tacking on, and here's your whole cost. What if we did that for food, right? What if we did that for food? Because then what happens, Pebbles? People start going, oh, you're buying 1,000 eggs a week from that farmer 2 zip codes over? What if I bought 10 more chickens? Could I sell you 100 eggs a week? And then that way you can decentralize your reliance and you're not just relying on one farmer. And then eventually you have 700,000 people providing food, eggs, veggies, meat, and all the other people are coming through and buying that food. And guess what? Right? Well, you're saying people are too greedy. What you mean is corporations are too greedy. And corporations have rewritten the laws because the politicians are in their pockets to make it so that they never have to give up their huge profits. So here's the thing. We don't have to make them give up their huge profits. We just stop using their system. If you could follow us on YouTube as well. And the big one is join us in the Discord. The Discord is where we are breaking out by state. Because the local action groups, that's where things really happen. Because what we are doing is we are showing people that we are building locally in our area. But in order to do that, you've got to find people in your area. The Discord is how you find people in your area. Because that is how many of us are already part of this. Absolutely, Princess Vice. We have gotten rid of the guardrails against greed. That's exactly how I would say it. Our society has uplifted greed and removed the guardrails against greed. And because the richest people in our society are the ones that dominate and push forward our culture, what they've done is they've realized that, whoa, not only if we remove the guardrails against greed, will that give us more ability to screw people over. It will also create this greed is good culture in our society. And if we can convince people that greed is good, then we're allowed to be as greedy as we want because nobody will look down on us. Y'all remember when sellouts used to be a thing? Remember when somebody would love money too much? And whoever loved money, we would call them a sellout, right? We would call them a sellout. And here's the thing. Tammy, food for a lot of people costs $500 a month, right? So normally I don't feed the trolls, but I was going there anyway. So even though corporations are honestly jerks, it's not hard to see that corporations lie about what's in their food because they don't care if it's good for you. Corporations lie about what's in their products because they don't care if it hurts you. Corporations lie about their health care because they don't care about you. And what do people say? They say, oh, you're lazy. Oh, they made bad choices. But what people don't understand is right now, 80% of Americans are struggling. And what I like to ask people is at what point, at how many people are struggling, will you stop blaming people and start blaming the system? Because right now, 80% of people don't have enough savings. And you're still blaming all those you're blaming 200 million people instead of being like, oh, is the carnival game rigged? Are you one of those people that goes to the carnival and doesn't understand that the carnival's rigged? Because if you are, then I understand why you believe this. But when you see all the people throwing the rings at the ring toss, they're not actually really bad at ring tosses. It's actually rigged. So you might think that this system's the same way, that this system's all fair, right? And this is where, right, Brielle? Right, Princess? Why would we care or pay attention? I'm going to block them now because I used them for my teaching. Why would we care what someone who's honestly not smart enough to see that a rigged game is rigged? Why would we spend time and energy trying to convince them to change their mind? I think a lot of us do because we're like, oh, we need to push back against people that don't understand. Nah. What really is that if people keep their head in their sand, screw that. We're just moving forward. Because Neil, what it really is, it's neither party because it's both parties. Both parties are two sides of the same coin. And where is that coin? It's in a billionaire's damn pocket. Really, I think that both parties are good cop, bad cop. One of them tries to be the good cop, one of them's the bad cop. But as long as you choose one of their two options, that's all they care about. Because what I call them is power-hungry blue and power-hungry red. Both blue and red are power hungry. They are simply corporations. I've been railing this whole time about corporations that aren't political. Corporations that are out for money are bad, but damn, corporations who are out for power, I really hate those corporations, right? So that's where I don't think either party is on our side. Phone backgrounds, then that's too bad because this affects you all too. Because it was Americans' misunderstanding of our economic situation that led to all this. And once people realize that it is our economic situation that keeps us so stuck and boxed in, committed politically, That once people understand that, Neil, I am all with you. And Neil, what's so funny is if we started talking in the normal political way, you and I might be on, we might have our differences, right? But that's where I love you, my friend, because what this is to me is I want the people that think more differently than me. Those are the people I want to align with, because it's just like, hey, if you're feeling this too, if we're all feeling this, then why haven't we fixed it? Oh, because they are keeping us at each other's throats. So we don't fix it, right? That's where I just remember growing up, it wasn't left or right. It's that we're all American, right? They might think differently, but we're American. In the end of the day, we all love our country, right? That's what it comes down to. That's where let's put aside our differences just for, here's what it is. The house is on fire. Our house is on fire. But we're still stuck in the bedroom debating over what color to paint the walls. Because they are so, because we are so wrapped up in fighting each other that we're not going to go look at the structural issue, because it's easier to talk about what color to paint the walls than it is to go fix the foundation. So Princess Vice, where we meet is on Discord. We've got our website, blackoutthesystem.com. We're with themassblackout.com. But where we really meet, where I'll be on there and all this kind of stuff, is our Discord. Our Discord is where we break out by state. Because these national conversations, yes, they are important. But where we're really going to change shit is on the local level. Because we only really need to focus on two things. It feels like it's a lot, but we only need to focus on two things. Striking and boycotting are our biggest, most strongest actions we can take. But right now, we can't boycott effectively because they've got us so screwed. We're so wrapped around the corporation's finger. We can try to boycott, but the majority of us are going to end up getting our food from corporations because that's what's easy, that's what's habit. I'm not driving 20 miles out of the way to go to a local store. Corporations made sure that 80% of Americans need to drive 20 miles to go to a local grocery store. So what do? We start building our own local options. That's it. We have to start building. So Princess, I am loving your point of view. So I would love for you to join the Discord. But Princess, that's why it's going to be 200 people that change our country, that change the world. It's going to be 200 people. Tammy, you are close, but what ended up happening is they don't enjoy seeing people suffer. They were born into a world that told them that life is competitive. And so they believed it, because that is what it feels like sometimes. So because they're so competitive, because they think that when somebody else suffers, if they have less of a slice of the pie, that means there's more of the slice of the pie for them. It's not that they enjoy seeing people suffer. It's that they're confused about what life is about. But Princess, this is what we do. We don't make an impact by convincing people. We make a local impact by showing them a better option. We don't talk about a better option. We show them the better option. Broken systems don't get fixed. They get replaced when a better option comes along. C-Bar, I'm not going to deal with you. That's not what we're talking about. So if broken systems don't get fixed, then there's no reason to argue about trying to fix it, right? They just get replaced. Nobody called up all the horse owners in America and convinced them to switch to a car. Nobody called up C-Bar, you don't know if I'm one of those. That's what's funny. What if I am that? Why would I be mad at them? You can make a lot of money and not exploit people. I think money's, what causes access. So you don't know that. So what we are doing then is basically, this also shows people that corporations don't have any real power, right? Corporations don't do anything. Corporations just control access. So rather than having a corporation or an organization that does not care about us, controlling access to the things we need to live. What if we control that access? Well, then our first question is, how can we compete with the grocery store? Well, we're not competing based on scale. We're just caring more. And we care more by doing one product, one thing that works to start. We offer eggs, right? We offer eggs. Well, Neil, that's what I thought growing up, especially I worked for a billionaire. I worked next to a billionaire's son. And all I kept thinking was, damn, if I was that billionaire's son, all I would want to do is try to change the world. And to be granted, his brother was like that. But the son that I worked with was just about the money. And he could tell how different his life was than everybody else's and wouldn't talk about it all the time. But I got so many glimpses into what their life was like. Because that's my idea, Neil, was, what really motivates people to make all that money is because they want to create change. Once they use it to have some power and influence some elections, then just like the oil barons or the robber barons before us, they will go ahead and use their wealth to make a name for themselves that will live throughout history. Why don't the ultra rich people see that? It's really weird, right? Because that's honestly like what money should be for, is take care of yourself, you take care of your family. But then once you have enough for like 100 years, shouldn't you try to it's like, and you can do this from a selfish perspective too. Shouldn't you try to make a name for yourself? And you make a name for yourself by taking care of others, because you can't take that money with you. And if you've already got 100 years worth, it makes no sense. Anyway, what we are doing, Swamps, that's pretty funny. Anyway, what we are doing is we are pushing back economically. We are understanding. Well, Neil, I think it goes back to our earlier. So Neil asked, why aren't the ultra rich feeding people, building roads, bridges, basically changing our society? I think it's because we got rid of the guardrails against greed, right? We got rid of the guardrails against greed. And people don't understand, right? What I earn is my choice. Nuh-uh. One person who's negotiating is going to not have a house or food in 2 to 4 weeks. The other person that's negotiating, the job creator, just wants to make more money. Do we all not understand what a job is? A job is not charity. A job is an owner saying, I want to make more money. I want to make more money. Who wants to come earn a living and make me more money? Not, I want to make money. No, it's they're already making money. What you do when you offer a job is you say either, I don't feel like doing this, I want to pay you so I have my time back, or I'm already working 60 hours a week. I don't have time to do this, so I need to hire you to do it. And every time you hire somebody, it ain't out of charity. A boss hires somebody to make a damn profit. So when you hire somebody and that person can't afford enough for food, for housing, for healthcare, and here's the thing, it's not like they accepted that job, right? In a vacuum. They only took that low-paying job because their other job burned down or they lost their job. And in a couple weeks, they're not going to have enough for food. They're not going to help for housing. And this is what's so funny. Everything they say, I have the simplest response. So we had someone say, you have no idea how capitalism helped drive individuals to create the best country in the world. And you're obviously a bot. But then that same system has also created millions of homeless people. Hundreds of thousands of people that have died from starvation. What about this? It's not even an efficient system, because how many people that were as smart as Einstein died working in a factory because they were born to a factory employee instead of a factory owner, right? Because we don't base our effectiveness based on what you can do, right? It's how much money you can make. So Swamp Nails, the best thing you can do is follow Hey Neighbor. He will be coming and giving a talk at our weekly meetings. And his whole goal is turning your neighborhood into a community. He's got 10 steps. It starts off like be friendly and be vulnerable. He differentiates between the two. Then the next thing is to have a local meeting that doesn't cost you anything, like a little a local get together that you can invite people to, but it can't be at your house because then people feel weird, I guess. And he's got all of these rules that you can do. There you go, Swamp Nails, howdy neighbor. But that's what's so cool is he took something that was even hard for me, right? Like it's, can be friendly, being vulnerable is tough. But basically, like, how do I make friends? And it like laid it out step by step with strangers, and so it was just really cool. So, Hey Neighbor would be a great one. Absolutely phone backgrounds, but I think it's less than that and just more that anything that they're just realizing that people are waking up. They've screwed over enough of us that it's been difficult. Because that's really what it is, right? The more people that are affected, the more people that will wake up. And our society is kind of like a road. It is like a road. And for a long time, the road worked for the majority of people. Yeah, it always screwed over a large portion of particularly, minorities and the disenfranchised. But for a lot of people, the road still worked. And Neil, isn't that crazy? And that's where I think so much of our frustration comes from the fact that we're honestly just ready to get out. Neil, I'm so sick of it. So Double G, you're falling into the trap. Double G said, that's not true. Look at liberals. They never wake up. Double G, this space is sick of pointing fingers. This has been happening to our country for 40 or 50 years. It started with corporations controlling the economy and getting rid of all the mom and pop shops. It then turned into them getting rid of the guardrails against greed. They did that by controlling the media and taking over our politics. The reason I say 40 or 50 years is that's when the internet came into being. And what it really did was cause this. In 1980, the red line and the blue line were about the same. The blue line was the money we made for the company. And the red line is the money they paid us. And around 1980, when the internet and other technological advances started beginning, we started being more productive, but none of that money went to us. All the money went to the corporations. So, and then what happened is greed became the name of the game. They made all of the symptoms look like the problem. That's really so much of it. We started losing money. That was a symptom of the ultra wealthy being greedy. But they made it look like, oh, that's, good morning, Terry. That's other people coming in and stealing our jobs. So they made the symptom look like a problem, right? The media lies to us and doesn't tell us the same reality. Well, that's a symptom of the people up top controlling everything that we hear. But that feels like it's the reality, right? Tammy, this is exactly so much of what I was talking about was, creating a co-op, especially based around food. It's that I know where I'm at in Maryland, there ain't no co-ops. Absolutely, swamp nails. But that's where the ultra wealthy have done so good, making sure that we only focus on the symptoms. That's where I even talk about Trump. Like, yeah, it's a symptom as well, too, of the corporate greed. Put it in, what is essentially a man that is a corporation. Well, that's what it is, Tammy, is we need to show people, we need to support those kind, the same way that people now are like going out for Costco. Yeah, Costco's a little bit anti-union, but they've still figured out a system that works for the customers and not against us. And that's where, Tammy, this is a goddamn business idea. Somebody that sees, oh, Winco really expanded where they're at. If they went into this market, they do a great job. But for some reason, they're not. Well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be the one that pushes into this new market. Because, yeah, I want to serve my community, but I'm sick of working for these damn corporations. And I'm going to build something that people want to be a part of. I'm going to build the next Winco where I say, look, I couldn't do this without you. So if you come in and you want to bust your ass too, we are partners. You're an owner in this too. Because that's what a community steward is. We don't own the food that a community needs to eat. We are stewards of that food. And what makes us proud is not how much money we make, it's how many mouths we feed. And hell yeah, we still want to make enough money so that we can continue operating, so that we can pay our workers, so that we can attract people away from corporations and come work for us instead. So that's where sometimes when we say, oh, this is a small business idea, you can make money, people get all pissed. Oh, we're just replacing the same system. Not if the person who is in charge cares about the community. Because I guarantee your ass, if it was these private equity pricks that came to us 60 years ago and said, hey, we're going to buy up all your food, are you cool with that? We would have said, But what happened was, it was the person that started the company, the person that was a part of the community. They're the ones that began all this. They said, hey, y'all, what if I bought up all the food and put it in a local area? I don't know why I'm talking in a Southern accent. And put it in a local area so that you all could then come and buy it. And we said, oh, you've been a part of our community for 50 years. That sounds great. You'll always be watching out for us. And then that person died and their kids took over. Then their kids sold it to private equity. And then private equity realized, oh, we control 90% of food. We can charge them whatever they want. Disabled therapists, that's what we're doing in the Discord right down there. Yes, Neil, that is how I'm feeling. The, what is it? Employee I can't remember, the share or something. Employee shared own something, but that's what it is. The ESOP is where it's at. And so disabled therapists, Minnesota is showing us what we need to do, but no place in America has the infrastructure to do it long term. Because think what we need for strikes and boycotts. For boycotts, we need more alternatives that are not corporations. So right now, I don't know how it is in Minnesota, but I know in Maryland, the majority of people have to get their food from corporate grocery stores. So my big thing is how many people in Minnesota will not get their food from a corporate grocery store, will not work out, will even look into that local restaurant to see if the local restaurant orders from Sysco. How many of people will go and pay their health insurance to the very same corporations that are funding this administration? How many of us will go pay our Apple Cloud and for our iPhone payment? And I'm a part of that group too. But that's where we have to look at all the things that they control that we use to live every day. Not to mention our housing and our rent payments as well too. So it's so important that we have the action that's what's going on in Minnesota, but it's also important that we don't overstate it, like we're ready for this to be something that actually makes a difference. This is the first step where we need to recruit people into the structure. Hey, we have this strike we want to do. Well, in order for a strike, we all need to connect to a local farmer more so that we don't have to go to the grocery store. Because economic freedom is what a strike really needs. And unless we have economic freedom, we ain't striking. And here's the other thing. A strike can't feel like a leap of faith. A strike can't feel like a leap of faith. A strike has to feel like a logical next step. It has to be like, why are we going to work? I'm getting my food from the local guy down the street, and I go and I work for them for 6 hours a week. I get my health care from the doctor, but what I do is I buy reduced price food from where I work at and sell that to the doctor. So I've got my food taken care of. Oh, and then I just joined a home buyers club. I just joined a tenant union. There we go. I just joined a tenant union. So now that I know my housing is taken care of, my food is taken care of, my health care is taken care of, I don't need the system. Oh, striking is the logical next step. Well, that's where we got to make boycotting very easy. Because then once we make boycotting easy, what happens is those people that created those new co-ops, because Winco is ran by their employees, those people start going, yeah, we know what hard times feel like. We can start bartering. We can start time banking. The old joke is what? You didn't have enough money to pay for your meal? Well, you got to go and wash dishes for a couple hours? That's all it is. Hey, we pay our dishwasher $15 an hour. You ate $40, $30 worth of food, go wash dishes for 2 hours, right? And it's even more than that, because what if we have these food buying groups, and these food buying groups go buy all their vegetables and herbs from the local farmer, and they're buying 1,000 herbs a week, 100 pounds a week. And then what if somebody like you sees that and says, hey, rather than buying all your food from one person, could I sell you 5 pounds of herbs a week? Could I sell you 20 eggs a week? And then we start having a decentralized co-op where people show up and sell their food, and the people that want to buy it purchase it. And it is everyone coming together to realize that everybody sees. Well, and that's where my garden is a prayer. Here's what it is, right? We got to get our house in order, but nobody wants to do a chore. But that's where we have to show people this isn't a chore. This is how you can start your business and get out of this rat race, is by simply connecting people to the things they need to live, because that is all that corporations do, and they do it with both their middle fingers up at us. So if you did the same thing as corporations, but you stopped giving us the double bird every time you interacted with us, then people would actually come to you. And what this is, what I really can't wait for some people to see, this is a customer base. This isn't people who are ready to be all activists. They're saying, I'm just waiting for someone to come along and build something different. I am just waiting to have my dollars go to them instead of corporations. And all you have to do is keep that purity of heart and twinkle in your eye that says, I know that I am nothing, that I am only here because of my community. And as long as I keep serving my community, they will allow me to be their steward, because that's what I am. I'm a steward of food in our community, because that's what I am. I'm a steward of healthcare in our community. I'm a steward of housing in our community. I connect people with the things that they need to live. And I understand that, yes, I need to make a living, but what I'm not going to do is exploit people and screw them over And Aurora, I'm sorry, but if, I don't know if I think you asked earlier, but there's the Discord. If you could join, would love to have you in there. Because that's what this is. We are a group of people that says, hey, can we stop rating humans based on how much money they make? And if we are going to rate people on how much money they make, can we at least give everybody equal starting ground? Like, this whole system doesn't make sense. If these corporations are going to be in charge of our healthcare, could they like not actively hate us? Well, Neil, that's what it comes down to. That's what it is I think somebody said earlier, oh, what's going on with people that, enjoy seeing others suffer? Not at all. It's that so many of us were told that if you give people the things they need to live, if you give people food, if you give people housing, if you give people healthcare, that they will be lazy, right? That's what we're told, that they'll sit their asses at home. But that ain't the truth. That, I think whoever said that was just telling on themselves, because I know that when my needs are met, I'm itching to go do something. And normally the thing I'm itching to go do is improve my world, serve other people, develop a better community. Why? Because selfishly, that's the world I want to live in. Because it's actually our incentives, what we want selfishly lines up with what others need. Because what I want selfishly is to have everyone to have housing and food so that they are nicer to me and my family. But it also works out. I mean, of course I want them to have those things because they're human beings and because that's good for them. But isn't that kind of the end point? If somebody has all their needs met, they're not going to be stressed. They're not going to be pissed. They're not going to be as angry at some people that don't look like them migrating into their country because they're like, I got some money. They can have a piece of it too. But they made us feel, they put us in such a hyper-competitive state. And then they lied to us and said, well, if people are given their food and their housing and their healthcare, they'll be lazy. God damn it, no. If people's cups are full, they try to fill others' cups. If somebody's cup is full, they don't just sit back, right? Because when somebody lives up to their fullest potential, when someone has all the food they need, they go and see if other people have enough. It's only when you've felt what it feels like to have scarcity that you start hoarding. When you have housing, you don't want a bigger and bigger house. You just care that Terry has a house and Maxine has a house and Aurora has a house. That's all that you want because you say, damn, I've had all my needs met. I just want those people to have all their needs met. Do you know why I know this and feel this way? Because I feel like that's what's happened to me. We are all products of our own society and our own experiences, right? Well, I speak from my own experience because that's what I can only speak from. And from my own experience, I feel like I got what a lot of, people in the previous generation got, right? Because my mom had the nice, cushy corporate job. My dad had the small business, right? So I was able to see what corporations do to people. I also was able to see what happens when you're a small business taking advantage of the corporations. I was able to see what it's like to have your parents around, all the time. And when people are able to have their cups full, when people have enough, they don't just sit on their ass and get lazy. They say, damn, I want to go out in the world and make it better. This is going to sound privileged, but money never motivated me because I never, growing up, that wasn't the main thing, right? Yeah, I knew that money is what created change, is what made people's lives better. So I knew that you had to at least, make sure that you were taken care of so that you could create change for others. But that's what happens is when people live up to their fullest potential, they always excel at what they do because they're not worried about where their housing is coming from, about where their healthcare is coming from. And Ponder, I think it's sad that you come in here every day. And I think it's funny that you call a small business owner who only is saying more competition. Let's put yard sales in every single Walmart parking lot. Let's put farmers markets in every single grocery store parking lot. I say the word small business revolution. We should have 1 million small businesses. How is someone that calls for 1 million small businesses a commie? What I would say is that when somebody is calling for 1 million small businesses to be opened and the other person calls them a commie, that other person probably doesn't know what they're talking about. And it's weird that you come in here all the time. I always wonder whether I should block because they sure do give a lot of... I know, Maxine, I've been talking for a while, though, and my patience, I guess, is wearing thin. Usually at the beginning, it's fine. It's just that if they insult, make a good insult, right? Make fun of my hair, call me something else. Don't call me a commie when I'm calling for a small business revolution. That's all. Make the insults accurate. That's all that I ask. I know, but I do get distracted. It's like that wiring in our brain where it's like all these people are listening, and then I'm like, no, that one person who's pushing against me, that's who I need to convince. But then really, like, that's what I'm trying to get away from. And that's what I'm trying to show other people. Like, no, that person does not matter. If we've got 1,000 people that are here, one can wander away, because if you care about human beings, gosh, that's like the one thing I go back to. If you believe human beings have intrinsic value, that's all that this is really about, right? Intrinsic value. Oh, well, Ryan, I read it. I just try to bite my tongue. I go, oh. Well, no, it's basically don't feed the trolls, right? I just don't feed the trolls. So, Tammy, that's it. What's crazy is we all have the same needs, right? We all have the same needs. Well, not all the time, Ryan, but I appreciate you saying that. Because I enjoy the spiciness. I enjoy the conflict. It just, what I enjoy more is winning. It's really all it comes down to. I want to win, and I'm not going to engage in anything that doesn't push us towards winning. That's all. So, because everybody feels this way, we're all broke, we all feel the pressure, and really it's corporations. Corporations don't care about us. I just think it's weird that the organizations in charge of our healthcare actively don't want to provide us healthcare. And I just think it's weird that the companies in charge of making food lie to us about what's in that food. And they want us to be unhealthy, even though their health bars say health bars, but then they're really not that healthy. And I don't get how some people can put that much sodium in things and be okay with having another human being eat it. Well, that's where so much of it fell too, is it comes down to the person that started the company was a part of our community, right? Then that person sold it to their kids. Their kids didn't care about it. Their kids sold it to a private equity. And then here we are now. Silly me. I appreciate you dropping that, because we feel so alone. We feel so isolated because we're like, dang, we want to speak out. We want change. Why won't our voices work? Why doesn't anyone listen to us? Well, that's because right now we have no leverage. The only things we can really do, yeah, Terry, it took me a while to realize that. The only things we can really do are boycott and strike. But boycotting is really difficult because we don't have enough non-corporate options. Not many people can go to that local grocery store and have it be just as cheap and just as convenient. And until that local grocery store is just as cheap and just as convenient, it's going to be difficult to boycott. Corporations intentionally took control of the things we needed to live so that we couldn't boycott. And then they all own pieces of each other. Over 85% of corporations on the S&P 500 have the same 3 top shareholders. And that's where I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, but co-ops, this is the people that want to buy from your co-op. You just need to start it. And we're already starting it. I'm starting one in Maryland. We got somebody down in Florida starting theirs. And the more people that see that it's possible, the more people that will start theirs. And eventually, what if all of us had local food buying groups? This is really all it is. We need to have 1,000 people in every zip code that share tips and strategies of only purchasing locally. And then here's the deal. You make a map, you make a list of things that you can buy locally. Well, those things that you can't buy locally, one thing I always talk about, laundry detergent. Can somebody that's not a corporation sell me laundry detergent, please? I heard it's pretty easy to make. I'll pay a premium. I just don't want to buy it from corporations. So you could literally make your own laundry detergent and call it non-corporate laundry detergent, cost plus laundry detergent. We should really just go with the cost plus name because it shows people, look, this is my cost plus a small coordination fee. This is my cost plus a small marketing fee. We show people straight up, we're not screwing you over. We are trying to provide a service and make a little bit of a living at the same time. Aurora, you're so right. But what they are hoping on is that we are so wrapped up in fighting red versus blue and all of these other battles over the symptoms that we won't realize that the problem is that they control access to all of our food. And that's really what it comes down to, is that Brielle, that is great. Brielle, would love for you to join the Discord if you are able to. It's where we break out into state. We already have a lot of people in Virginia. And all it comes down to is if even if you're not going to be one of the people that wants to start the co-op, then heck, you can be one of the people that says, hey, when you're ready, I'll buy from you. Right? Do you know how powerful that is to say, I got your back when it's ready? Because that's where what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to find 20, 30 people that want to buy food from a local farmer. And I know. So Tammy, you get them involved. That's what this is. Tammy, whatever state you are in, we have people in your state. And what we are trying to do is connect them with you, Tammy. And maybe it's not the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe you start writing letters to the editor. But that's where you find what you're passionate about. We will bring you the people. You help lead them. We'll give you the tools. We'll give you all the things that you need to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. And we'll be like, Tammy, neither do I. But there's this person in Lake Tahoe that does know. And her name is Congress of Climate. And she's talking at our Citizens Assembly this Sunday, right? That's what it is. We don't have all the answers, but all of these people do. They are already building what we need. But I mean, we'll get her eventually. She's a friend of the show. So they will show us what we need. And that's a real person, by the way, Tammy. Like, I could message her and be like, hey, we've got Tammy who's wants to try to do this and da-da-da-da. Hell yeah, Tammy. That's where this is about. And If you're doing that, then you're somebody that has stepped up and taken the helm. And I think that's all people need to do. It's somebody that says, I can't do it all the time, but I can man the wheel for a little bit. That's it. We call them state facilitators, state coordinators. It's not just you, but if we got 3 or 4 people all helping to man the wheel, then it's not that difficult, right? Because everybody shares the responsibility, shares the load. And what's amazing, Tammy, is that people across the country are doing the same thing. So you have this sense of shared purpose, that you're doing something bigger than yourself, that if it was just you starting a co-op, who knows what might happen. But because there's 100 other co-ops being built across the country, because there's 100 other resellers and online consignment shops that are allowing people to resell clothes, resell furniture, so that we don't have to go. It's all about reducing dependence on corporations. Because what we're working towards is a longer, stronger strike. And we do that by reducing dependence on corporations. The only way we can strike is if we learn how to boycott first, is if we have enough non-corporate options that we can boycott. So the first goal is to strengthen our ability to boycott. And we do that by creating and supporting local alternatives. The first step is to break out into your locality. There'll be 4, 5, 10 people in your area, in your state. You start mapping out all your local alternatives. Where's your local food? Where's your local housing? Where's your local healthcare? And if those things are not there, you start building it. That's it. If there is no local food, you build a food distribution network. It's just a bulk order. You're just bulk ordering. Hey, would you want to be a part of a bulk order? We're all going to buy a bunch from the farmer. There's even a company that does this. They will get, rather than you having to go buy it from the store, if you can get 10 families to buy what you need from this corporation, they'll show up in a parking lot in a truck. And rather than having to pay for the store and pay for the employees, you simply get everything almost at cost plus their shipping costs, right? So it's cost plus goods, cost plus food. Cuban already started cost plus medicine, cost plus housing. And then people know, oh, this isn't out just to screw me. They're trying to provide a service. They're giving me food that is quality at a reasonable price. Oh my God, and they're being transparent. This is what they bought it for wholesale, $3. This was their overhead cost, 50 cents. And this is what they sell it to us for, $4. So they make 50 cents profit. This is awesome. The transparency allows us to see that this company isn't screwing us over. They're just trying to provide us with a service. Wow, I'm going to buy as much as I can from this co-op. That's what we need to do. Cut out the middleman. Realize that corporations don't add any value anyway. And build what works for